Let's see. It's recording.
Is it? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, this is about my stroll in the sky in 1955. I had been taking ground school with Mickey Kroll, and she was flying her husband's J3 Cub, and I was flying the Aeronca Champ 1946. And we had only probably 5 or 6 hours solo time in, and we decided that we would go for a little flight from her strip down to the Hamburg airport. So from Dunkirk airport, I fly up to her farm, and they have a little strip on the farm on Pope Hill in Forestville. And I fly up there and land, and we chat a little bit, and then time to get going for our flight to Hamburg airport. So I said, okay, and I had to prop her plane because neither one of us have any electricity on our planes. There's no electric start, no lights, nothing. So I knew how to prop planes real good because John Nalbone Sr., my flight instructor, had instructed me the proper way to prop a plane and not get chopped up with a prop. So what you do is you put a little stone in front of the wheel, and you get in front and you pull the prop through and lean back, run around, kick the stone out, grab the strut, and jump in. And that's good when you're in your 20s because that's easy to do. So we got the print. I got the plane props, and we took off for our little flight down to Hamburg Airport. So neither one of us had said altitude or heading or anything that we were going to take. We just took off. So we flew down to Hamburg Airport, which was not really that far from her house. And we come in, and we made a straight-in approach. And as you land in Hamburg Airport, on the runway that is on the south end,
Where the grove.
where there's a
Ravine. A
There's
ravine.
a ravine there.
Yeah.
So when you come in, it looks like you're going to come right in and hit that ravine. You come in low. And so both of us made straight-in approaches, did real good. And we landed. So we thought, well, mission accomplished. We didn't stick around. And we took off and started back to her field. So we fly back to her field and land, and then we visit for a while. Well, when I took off from Dunkirk in the very beginning, it was late afternoon. So by the time we'd done all that, and I talked a while, then I said to Mickey, I said, oh, time that I should be taking off and going back to Dunkirk Airport. So I propped the plane, went through the procedure, and got in and took off. Well, agricultural area, you can fly 500 feet above the ground. So I'm up there 500 feet looking around all the cows in the field, all the barns, red barns, beautiful white farmhouses, and you could even see wild animals, deer, because I was so low. So I'm looking at this and looking really mesmerized by all this that I'm seeing down below. And that went on for some time. Then I looked up thinking, oh, Dunkirk Airport would be right ahead of me. Well, when I looked up, I didn't know anything. I didn't know where I was. I didn't see anything familiar, and I got kind of nervous. So then I thought, oh, what would John say? John said, look for some landmark, real prominent landmark, to see where you might be in that. So when I went over and I saw this big ravine, I thought, oh, that'll go to Lake Erie. So I turned left, followed the ravine down, and then it come to the thruway, which is not that far from Lake Erie. So then I turned left to go west and followed the thruway. Well, pretty soon when I'm going along, all of a sudden down below, the lights, the earth just lights up with all these lights. And it's Silver Creek, the village, and all their street lights came on. Well, now I know it's really getting kind of late. And it was getting so dim I couldn't see inside the cabin. But I didn't have many instruments to look at anyway. So then I thought, well, what I better do is fly fairly low over, follow the thruway to go back to Dunkirk Airport. And so, and I did, and then I start looking around for red lights and green lights on other airplanes' wingtips because pretty dark out there, and they couldn't see me because I didn't have any lights. And so I'm flying along, I get a little nervous again, and so then I'm thinking, oh, what would my instructor John Melbourne say? Well, he'd say, don't look at your instruments, fly by the seat of your pants. So it's exactly what I did because I could not see the airspeed indicator or anything. So that's what I did, and come along, and I knew by going on by the thruway, I would come up to Dunkirk Airport. And so when I come up, getting closer to Dunkirk Airport, I look down and here's all the blue runway lights on. Well, that was new to me. I had never seen anything like that before. That was beautiful. But again, I made a straight-in approach on 6, and I was so good at landings. Landings were always very easy for me, so no problem with landings. And landed perfectly, taxied up to the hangar, and I had a party waiting for me. And my instructor, John Melbourne, was waiting for me, and my husband was waiting for me. Everybody was wondering where I was. Well, I explained what happened, that I wasn't paying attention, and that was my first mistake, not paying attention. What a nice, real strong crosswind had come up and blown me way off course. And so that was a very good lesson learned early in my flying. And so that to pay attention to where you're going, check your direction, check your compass, check everything. Very good lesson learned. So that was my first experience going very far away from the airport when I had first sold.
And then what year was that, give or take?
That was about 1955.
Okay. So
1955, flying a 1946 Champ 7AC Aeronca.
yeah, good. And then now what about the years you have with your suit, your Civil Air Patrol suit?
Well, then I joined Civil Air Patrol, and I'd been in that for a long time. Before I started flying, I joined Civil Air Patrol in the 70s, so I was in it for a long time. But then I dropped out a little, and then I had started my flying lessons in the 50s, but then I took off 30 years to raise a family and go to nursing school, so I had 30 years off, and resumed it later. And I joined CAP at that time too. And then I went back to John Melbourne and finished out my flying lessons, and John issued me my private license, I think it was 1986 when he issued me that. And I was in CAP, so I got to fly the Civil Air Patrol plane, which was a Cessna 172, and we flew the sundown patrol over Lake Erie. We went from Dunkirk up to the shore by Ripley and turned around and come back. And that was Sunday evenings we did that. We flew and we had an observer on board to look for any boats in distress. So that was a real good mission we did for CAP, amongst a lot of other things that we did for emergency searches, ELTs, and all kinds of good things we did for Civil Air Patrol.
It was good. So then you finally stopped flying.
Oh, so then it was,
How did that-
I think it was like 1993, the last time I flew. And I was still working, but I didn't have that much time to fly, and so I sort of gave it up.
Yeah. And the Civil Air Patrol, you were done
And I was finished with Civil Air Patrol at the same time.
same time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that ended my flying career.
Right. But you still have your pilot license to today.
Well, you have it, it's non-current.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but you still have it, so you could
Yeah.
get. Yeah.
Well, if you got one to get current again.
Yeah, you could.
Which I don't plan to.
Yeah.
No, I don't plan to.
Well, okay then. We'll end it here, and we'll see about that. Thank you.
You're welcome.